talk about, when we talk about this particular example, file servers and the files that are on them, we can be a little more specific. So let's talk about file writes. Okay, I'm going to give you several levels of access to different files, and I want you to think about the differences between them and why someone might be able to have one, but not the other. Okay, so I'm going to start from least access and go to most access. Okay, so what do you think is the least kind of access that a user might have or an account might have to a particular file on a network? The least amount of access. I'm going to put view at number 2. What might be less access than view? Yeah.
Knowing that it's there.
Well, I'm going to call that view still. Yeah. Yeah, no access. Thank you. Which I know it doesn't seem like it's like, what's the least amount of rights you can have? No rights. Okay. I'm persona non grata on this network. Now this is actually really important, isn't it? Actually, I would say, on any given network, the vast majority of files you have no access to, right? Because they belong to other people. So this is not to be forgotten, okay? No access. Now again, as I go through and describe these, I want you to think about which particular cases are you going to want to have a particular level assigned to a particular person. So here was my first explanation. Sometimes files belong to other people, right? So you don't want others to access them. Can anyone think of any other examples of where you want people to not have access to a file? Say it again, Israel. Passwords? Passwords? I'm going to suggest that's right, that's a good example, but it's probably the same reason as before, that those passwords belong to someone else, right? Not relevant? Okay. Yep. Now, all right. So let's think about this, right? Let's see what this computer will do. Even when you're not on a network, okay, just thinking about your own local hard drive, okay, your computer will try to give you no access to some of the files on there. So let's just experiment. Let's just see what I can get. If I go Windows, let's try in. Here we go. Oh, that's interesting. I have power. Okay. Now. Yeah, okay. No, but usually, okay, now at this point, and you can experiment on your own computers, I'd expect that your laptops would be a little more stringent, okay? Where I am, if you can't see, try this one. That's more interesting. There we go. Okay, so, if you didn't catch where I was going, I'm in the Windows folder, okay, so the operating system, and I've gone all the way down to System. Now, a folder like System, you would assume has, important, essential stuff in it, but apparently this folder is empty. How mysterious. That's a bit like opening up the bonnet of your car and it's just like a hole. It's like, where's my engine, okay? Now, it's not really empty, is it? Like, you don't need to know that much about a car to know it should have an engine in there. And you don't need to know much about Windows to think there should be something in this folder. Okay, so what's going on? I have no access to this. Now, it's not to do with me not owning those files. In a sense, I do own those files on this computer. Why can't I access them? Jack? Right, okay. To stop me from, setting fire to my own house and destroying it, okay? So, no access is often not just for privacy reasons or confidentiality, but just to protect the user. Just to protect the user from damaging their own system, okay? All right, next up is view. Okay, so what would view imply? It means, like we saw, where'd it go? Here it is. Like we saw in this folder, I can actually look at things, okay? But let's see if let's take a file like, I wonder what this does. Okay, this is risky, isn't it? Okay, perfect. Phew. All right, now, so I'm in the System32 folder, okay? Which, by the way, if you're curious, it's similar to the System folder, but I think we're on Windows 7, which is mainly 64-bit, okay? So the core system files aren't 32-bit. Doesn't matter if you don't know the distinction between those. But anyway, I just tried to delete this file. I just hit delete, okay? And it said, you'll need to provide administrative permission to delete this file, okay? So I can see that the file is there, so I can view it. but it's not letting me muck around with it, right? Wisely so, okay? Only the administrator can do something like this. If I say skip, I just... it'll ask me to authenticate, I guess. Continue. Bam, there you go. Okay, so you can see there's all of this permission actually built into the system. Okay, so I'll say to continue. No, I'm not going to continue. Let's try that. Where'd the file go? Is it gone? No, it's still there. It recycled, but didn't. I wonder why it told me that. It's like I'm just trying to fool you. It's like, yeah, sure, you deleted it. Anyway, okay, so view. What would you expect is the next one? Oh, by the way, sorry. View is often also called read. Okay, it's like you can open a book and read it. Okay. Okay, now, what would come next? What would come next? Say it again. Download. Okay, so be able to grab it, copy it to your own computer. I'm going to suggest, yes, that is an important permission. I think it's kind of part of this one, right? Because on a computer, which is different to, like, say, if you're in Barnes and Noble or Dimmicks or whatever, and you read a book. That's different to then taking the book home, right? That's different level of permission. But on a computer, right? Once you're reading something, you've actually already got it. Because reading is taking a copy of it, putting it in your RAM, that kind of thing. Okay? So viewing reading on a network is the same as taking a copy of it. Okay? What comes next? I'm going to suggest the next one is called modify. Modify. Okay? So this means not only can I open up files, but I can actually change their contents. So this is a processing issue, yes? Here, I can have a look, but I can't actually do any alterations. Okay, now, the next one, people will get confused between 3 and 4 because they sound very similar. 4, the next level up is called write. Now, hold on a second. Do you know, like write, as in like change stuff, isn't that the same as modify? What would you think is the difference between modify and write, if you could distinguish between them? Modify versus write. Yeah, Sonny?
Write might be altering.
Okay, so if you've got a file there, right, mucking around with the things that are inside it, I'm going to suggest that's what modify means. Okay, does someone want to go further? Yeah. Okay, so let's go after this. I think we're on the right track here. When I say, can you modify this, okay, that kind of implies there's something already there, and you just make some changes to it, okay? But write doesn't assume that, okay? If I say, hey, can you write me an essay? There might have been no essay there before, okay? So write is kind of a little bit like create, okay? Can you put new things on here, okay? Can you make something where there wasn't anything before? So it's a slight distinction, but an important one. Okay? Alright. That leads us to our last highest level of access or file privileges, which is called full control. Now, I wonder if you've been thinking so far, writing and creating and editing files seems like it's pretty good, right? That seems like a pretty good level of access. Along with creating, you've got actually the opposite, which is deleting. That's also something that modify can't do. But what would full control mean? Like, what more can you do than create files, change them, and delete them? Yeah.
Enforce restrictions.
Aha. So full control, right? It's what the administrator can do in terms of deciding what everyone else can do. Okay? So full control, if you like, it's a little bit like on when you did your group project on Google Sites, you had people who were owners versus people who could edit. What's the difference between an owner and an editor, right? The difference they're getting at is the difference between 4 and 5. Full control means I can say, you can do this, but not this. and you can do everything or whatever. Okay? Whereas writing, creating, editing, all that kind of thing is everything except for actually mucking around with other people's permissions. Okay? So I guess all of these are about content, but the thing this last one adds is editing the actual permissions that other people have. Okay?